My wife is telling me to stop drinking entirely, so I don't end up like her dad. Is that reasonable? We've been married for 8 months now, after dating for 3 years. Something like 2 years ago or so, her dad, in his 50s, was diagnosed with non-alcoholic cirrhosis and was given a few years to live. It was pretty bad. It made him mean and snappy, which he normally isn't, for the year he was on the transplant list. We weren't even sure he was going to live long enough to make it to our wedding. My wife was never a huge drinker, but she stopped drinking almost completely during this whole ordeal. Understandably, I always find myself defending her whenever people poke fun at her for getting a soda or juice when everyone else is getting drinks. However, she also asked me to cut down on drinking. I didn't really want to, but I didn't have a good argument for why I shouldn't, since that would mean I'm an alcoholic, right? So I went with it. I used to drink more like 7 to 10 drinks a week, and our hard limit for me has been no more than 4, ever since then. Until recently. Her dad was given the transplant on the condition that he attend AA meetings, which he did, and doesn't drink. As far as I understand, he's not supposed to drink at all. Her family is currently on a trip in Europe for a few weeks, and my wife apparently heard that he had been drinking a bunch during said trip. So yesterday, she told me that our household is pretty much going to go dry now. She wants to get rid of our home bar, and that we won't be spending money on alcohol, for the most part, anymore. The home bar was my idea, so we can host people instead of going out to bars, far cheaper that way. The hardest part about this is that I've been very into home brewing for quite a while. I really love craft beer. I don't drink to get drunk, I drink to appreciate a well-made beer. And of course I love to drink my own beers. She's telling me that I would be able to have one beer every once in a while, maybe one every other week, or on special occasions like when we're with people. For the record, her dad used to drink a lot, but he's the type where he would be buying cases of light macro beer and would binge drink, I don't know exactly how much. So even though his cirrhosis was not alcoholic in nature and runs in the family, according to the doctors, I'm sure all that beer certainly wasn't helping. Honestly, I don't really want to cut it out entirely, but I feel like that's what an alcoholic would say. I already didn't really want to cut down to 4 a week, but I did it for her. If push came to shove, I would do this for her too, just like how I would give up computer gaming if I had to, which has also been a point of contention in the past. Is she being reasonable? After all, it is understandable to want to cut out booze given what's going on with her dad. I feel like there is literally no way I can say no to this, without being a stubborn jerk, like both of our dads. For more context, I'm aware that I'm overweight at 250 pounds, with a sedentary job as a software engineer. I know that I can be doing better for my health, and I do want to, and she, being a nurse, wants me to too. I've successfully lost weight in the past via calorie counting, around 20 pounds or so. I just haven't been careful about it for the past 2 years or so and have lost that progress. I am starting it back up now though. Comment. She's reasonable in the sense that her feelings are valid and should be taken into consideration. That said, it is not reasonable for her to be in control of the amount of alcohol that you drink. If you want to be considerate of her feelings, then you limit your alcohol intake. Otherwise, you two are at an impasse, and if it's something she can't get past, then you guys probably aren't compatible long term. It really feels like a situation that therapy could help, especially couples therapy. She's projecting on you from legitimate and understandable fear, but her restrictions are beyond what's reasonable and cut out a favorite pastime of yours, with the whole microbrewing thing. It makes sense to explore this together with the help of a professional, who can hear both sides and help ground the process towards mutual understanding in an expertly supported objective space. I'm not advocating for more beer drinking than the 4 a week he'd already cut down to, but forcing him to cut back from there to every once in a while, when he's a hobbyist without a drinking problem, is overkill. Op is aware he could be healthier, which is where exercise and healthy eating should come in. 4 beers a week for a non-alcoholic adult man are not a significant health risk on their own. Seems like there's boundary overstepping happening all over the place here. First, your wife is afraid for her dad and projecting that into something she can control, you. It's true, her feelings are valid, we have permission to feel whatever we want to feel, but it seems inappropriate for her to declare how much and when you can drink as a result. If she wants to limit her own intake, that's appropriate. It's also totally appropriate for her to voice her feelings. But only you get to decide what you do with your body. If you believe her demands are reasonable, you can choose to accept her terms. If you'd like to have a higher degree of autonomy with your drinking, you need to determine what feels reasonable to you in your context, then voice that boundary with her. You both may choose to negotiate the shape of that boundary to the point where each has compromised to acceptable degrees, but no one gets to command you to do, or not do, something with your body, at least not in a healthy relationship. If she believes you have an actual drinking problem, that's an entirely different conversation. However, based on what you've said, it sounds like this is a control thing to help reduce the anxiety she feels around her inability to control her dad's drinking, and it's toxic AF. I think the issue here is more than you're both reasonable and within your rights to want what you want. She has a right to want to have a dry house and a dry family, just as you have a right to want to continue to drink. Truly neither of you are being unreasonable. Unfortunately, these two things are deeply incompatible. You should try counseling and see what you can accomplish, but it might be that you're just wrong for each other now. Next story 2. Why are my husband and his female friend talking badly about me behind my back after having a baby? My husband, late 30s, and me, late 30s, recently had a baby. I had a very difficult pregnancy, delivery, and postpartum recovery. During this period, my husband and I had a lot of issues adjusting to the new baby and my recovery. We are doing better now, but he revealed to me a conversation he had with his female good friend that has left me feeling betrayed and upset. In the midst of our difficult time and my recovery, he confided in one of his good female friends, late 30s, Jenny. He basically told her about all of our issues and also misrepresented many of our fights to paint me in a negative light. I was very hurt when he told me this. He has apologized for this profusely and says he is very embarrassed about his behavior. He admits it was after a fight we had about the baby and that he just needed to vent. He had only that one negative conversation about me with her. However, since that conversation, Jenny has taken every opportunity to either bash or insult me. She told him that she has always thought that I have low social intelligence. That her and her husband, late 30s, have inside jokes about me that they make all the time. She also criticized me as a mother. She said that I was a crazy rigid mother since I wanted to exclusively breastfeed my daughter. She also criticized me for prioritizing my daughter's sleep schedule instead of waking her to take her to a restaurant and said that I needed to get a life. She ended by telling my husband that on the bright side getting divorced before age 1 is best and that my husband's mistake was that he just married anybody. After I expressed my hurt feelings to my husband and he apologized profusely, he decided to call her and set the record straight. He told her that he was embarrassed and shouldn't have vented like that. That he had taken things out of context due to anger and that we were doing a lot better. She responded by reiterating that I have low social intelligence, that I have never tried to get to know her. When my husband told her that he felt uncomfortable with her talking negatively about me, she became upset and told him that she was worried they wouldn't be friends anymore and things would change between them. I'm kind of confused. She is happily married with a child and is inseparable from her husband. I don't think she is romantically into my husband. I have gone to their house 3 to 4 times for events/parties, visited after she had her son with gifts, and invited them over for a nice meal I prepared. They have never invited us over for a one-on-one. After I had the baby they never visited, and have made less of an effort than me. Before this I was honestly indifferent towards her and never thought about her. I have never wanted to be their friend since we are culturally very different, but I've always been respectful with no negative feelings towards them. But now I don't know what to do about the situation, her statements, or my husband's actions. I don't know why she has such negative feelings for me. I also don't know if my husband was completely honest about the extent of the negative things he said, and I feel betrayed he would say such awful things about me during a period of illness after having our baby. I'm so upset and I'm having a hard time letting it go. Comment. OMG. I don't even know what to say. For 1, your husband is a ass. 2, this is no friendship. It looks to me like your husband prioritizes his friend over you, his wife. 3, I'm sorry to say this, but husband needs to choose, you or his friend. Make sure he's not text or calling her behind your back. 4, there is more to the story that he is telling you. 5, his fiend may be clinching to her husband, but I think she is having some kind of feelings for you, husband. Make sure it's not mutual. If it is, do what's best for you. I feel nothing but compassion and sadness for you. I'm so sorry you are dealing with this. Nobody should ever experience anything to this extent, especially new mom. Your husband should never tolerate or even want to be friends with someone who says such rude things about his spouse. Is your relationship not his priority? This shouldn't be an ultimatum coming from you. He should have proactively, on his own, ended the friendship. This woman sucks, but your husband sucks way more. He's the one who is supposed to have your back. We always wrongly have negative feelings when a friend badmouth their partner. That doesn't mean we have to suddenly start saying all we have been thinking. She just was waiting for a little thing, to start talking all that shit. If she has the time to say all that and talking about you time to time, she is the one that need to get a life. About your husband, honestly I like how he ended up confronting her after he told you what she said. I've been in situations that I found out by myself, and not because my partner told me, let alone confront his friends to admit his mistake. Maybe he deserves a chance with some effort on his part. She doesn't. Whoever talks shit with you about others, is probably talking shit about you also. And don't get surprised if by this time she is badmouthing him already. This seems like an emotional affair, or this woman is an instigator who will only be happy once she breaks up your marriage. Maybe a bored and destructive person. You could call her yourself and tell her that you would like her to stop meddling in your marriage. Your husband was mistaken to vent to her, especially since he misrepresented you, but she is wrong to try to break up a family. She's a homewrecker.